bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear, and today we are back out in the middle to west side of Canada in Winnipeg, Manitoba with Jon Cara. And Jon, how are you guys making out in the Winnipeg area right now?
We're hanging out. We are all at home, so everybody's locked up. We got an announcement yesterday that for non-essential services, another 2 weeks. So right now we're using that as kind of our timeline. So to the end of the month, I think it's the 28th. Basically, we're just kind of day to day seeing how this all plays out. So
just waiting, eh? And for I probably did a terrible introduction there, but Jon Cara is a professional skills coach and works at the Rink in Winnipeg, a big facility there that has their own ice surfaces. I'll get you to kind of explain the facility a little bit because the one thing I want to kind of dive in with you today, obviously played hockey and gone through hockey, and then, you know, kind of when you got to that crossroads of not playing anymore and figuring out what you're going to do, got into basically skill development. And really quickly, how did you get into skill development? Like, what kind of got you into that? Were you doing it as a youngster when you were playing and then kind of just decided, hey, I may be able to make a career out of it? Did you meet somebody along the way that kind of guided you this way? Or, you know, how'd you get into this this crazy lifestyle of being a skills coach that works at nights and weekends, and wife loves them lots?
Yeah. Well, I think for many of us, as our careers go along and we start to see where our path takes us, for me, I could always skate really well, but I struggled to be able to put everything together. And I worked at a hockey school called Edge of Excellence back in the day with David Roy, who was with Philadelphia Flyers at that time. He was kind of the one of the top skating guys around, and I worked at his hockey school here in Winnipeg. And I remember after my first week doing it, my dad picking me up. I think I was 14 or 15 when I was working there, and just asked me how the week went, etc. type thing. And I remember telling him just how rewarding it was, like getting on the ice and seeing a kid struggle with something and being able to give them a key point and then seeing them do that. And that was kind of my intro into the coaching side of things. And then as you play and you go along, I ended up playing in Penticton, and my wife's from there too. So I would spend my summers out at the Okanagan Hockey Academy or hockey schools and work out there. I worked with a guy named Rob McLaughlin, who was, again, outstanding coach that I learned a lot from there as well. And then the one summer I was at U of M, I came back. There's a new training facility opening in Winnipeg. It was called the Rink, and had really cool branding around it. And my assistant coach at the time, Billy Keane, was just kind of the lead, getting everything going at the Rink. So he asked me if I'd want to help out, and I came in and got involved, and that was kind of my foot in the door. And then when I was done playing, I was lucky enough to get offered a opportunity to start doing it full time and really be a part of a company from the ground up. And it's pretty cool now to see just how it's been built and grown, and how much support we have from our owners just to continue to grow it. So it's that's kind of my path to this point. So
that's cool. And how long have you been with the Rink for? Like from playing like during summers and stuff to now?
I want to say I think we've been open now for either 14 or 15 years. So I was there probably about 6 months to a year was when I first started with the Rink. And then, I've been there through all our progressions. We were based out of basically a tin building. We put a rink in there just as a need for ice, and it was a 3-on-3 rink. It was the original plan, and then it kind of blossomed into all these development ideas. But now we're in this brand new 95,000 square foot facility, so it's we're very blessed and to have the opportunities we do. So
yeah, no shit. For any skill coach out there right now, is just like salivating. You had 95,000 square feet, your own rink, your own ice sheets in there. Because most of us, as skill coaches, most of us in communities, no matter where you are, you're dealing with the cities. you're dealing with a private rink who has men's league, who has other, your competitors are in there running sessions. You got other people doing privates or hockey camps and things like that. So you're constantly battling for ice. You're constantly trying to negotiate rates. You're constantly trying to develop new programs that are going to hopefully weed out some of your competition. But for you guys, which has always been kind of probably part of the beauty of it, especially now in a brand new facility, is having your own access to ice, own access to, the shooting pads and all that kind of stuff. So give us, just to like really rub it in our faces right now, give us a little breakdown of what kind of stuff would we find if we walked into the rink in Winnipeg? Like, what is the facility kind of laid out? You don't have to go into huge detail, but what kind of cool stuff do you guys have there?
Yeah, well, we basically, with all the planning that our ownership put into it, and it was nice. They involved a lot of us in the process too, just for input, etc. So, like I said, what really defined us when we, as a company originally, was the small ice, small group. So we originally at our old facility had 110 by 50 ice sheets. So it was real small, and challenged us to learn how to run sessions on there, from learn to skate all the way to junior and pro players. So when we moved into our new facility, that was something that we really wanted to keep as part of our brand, and really something that we felt was our signature. So, and also at the old facility, we had a goalie specific training area. So basically when you walk in our facility, it's a one-stop shop for any hockey player. So you walk in, you've got a specific goalie training sheet. So one half of the building has offices at the front, and then a goalie training sheet. And then on the other side, or other area within that, you've got 120 by 60 ice sheet. You've got NHL lighting on that side. You've got a ton of stuff done acoustic wise, so that echoes are controlled, etc. So you can have both sessions running. And then you walk down a hallway to the other side, and you've got this beautiful full ice sheet with stands up top, running track around it. And as you move up to the second floor and you're working around the running track, we've got a beautiful massive gym in the middle. That's state of the art, set up with Kaiser machines. It's got a little kind of turf area in there. It's basically everything. You walk in there and it's everything. And we both played, but as you walk in, it's everything you could imagine as a hockey player. Awesome. So there's basically no room for any excuses, and that's what we wanted to try to create. So.
Oh, that's amazing, man. That sounds great. Now, do you have a juice bar or protein bar? You got any kind of shake bar there or anything like that?
We don't have that yet. We have we have nutrition people that are on, but we don't have the juice bar set up yet. But that's I'm sure, if there's demand for it down the road, it's something that we'll have. But we've got a skate sharpening shop in there too, and then like an apparel area just for people that are interested in buying branding, etc. So it's
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So
yeah, I mean I think most most people that are in that type of industry, I think that's most of our dreams, is to have our own facility like that. That's that's yours. You have access to this stuff. You can use this stuff, And I think the nice thing about it too is I love the one-stop shop. Like, we're very fortunate in London. We've got, a 4-pad facility that isn't ours. Obviously, we rent the ice, but we have a gym in the basement. So for the most part, I'd say, 75-80% of the time we can get ice. We can get what we need to get for players. But it's nice when you have a player coming in, especially a high-end player, a junior player, college player, or a pro, an NHL guy, or a high-end girl athlete who comes in and is like, I need this, this, and this. Like, that's all right here within walking distance. Put your flip-flops on. You can go to the gym, to the rink, to the whatever, right? I think that is that's an attractive piece and such a nice thing to have, a nice amenity to have for a lot of these athletes, for sure. Yeah,
and I think that amenity piece is huge, even as a parent, being able to bring your player to one-stop shop and have them, one spot, and have them skate, and then be able to go up to the gym. So they're there for 2.5 hours and basically get all their training in a day. So there's a lot of thought put into it, and it's pretty cool when it all came together to just see, and we're able to utilize all 3 ice sheets, whether it be the full sheet, the training sheet, or our goalie pad, whether it be player and goalie. We're able to use all those different sheets in different capacities. So
That's awesome, man.
Been good.
Now in the goalie sheet, I know it's probably called like the goalie area goalie sheet, but could you use that with a player to work on shooting? Like if somebody just wanted a more inexpensive, rather than renting half a sheet of ice or even half the sheet of the smaller rink, is that an opportunity for them to use that rink with a skills coach like yourself just to work on shooting for a half-hour session? Do you guys do stuff like that to use that sheet a little bit more?
Yeah, 100%. So obviously with any facility, like you're talking, the facilities that you rent from, the goal is obviously your capacity level, right? So for us, finding ways to be able to utilize all those ice sheets is also really progressed us as coaches. So the goalie sheet, we do shooting lessons on there. We also run our first level of learn to skate on there.
Cool.
It's a nice small group, and we put them on there. It allows us to keep them in a confined space. Most of them are just, as you've experienced, just kind of standing on the ice. So there's really not necessarily a need for them to be on a big sheet right away.
Yeah.
So we just actually launched a brand new Learn to Skate 1 program that'll take place on the training sheet. So
that's cool.
For the goalie pads, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, turning your fantasy land into, unfortunately, darker times here, but I know we're all going through, the entire world, which makes it maybe a little bit easier to stomach because everyone's going through the same thing right now, and it's heartbreaking for a lot of businesses and a lot of people in general. I know we're going to talk more about business right now, but obviously we're well aware of the healthcare, implications for elderly and for people getting sick with COVID. Obviously it's terrible, but for you guys as a business that's obviously established and been around for a long time, and I'm sure very healthy and done a really good job, but just invested a lot of money and a lot of resources into building a whole new facility in this beautiful, state-of-the-art facility. And then 1 year later, it's, not by your choice, it's just shut down, for basically until further notice, for the next, unforeseeable future. Well, hopefully, sooner rather than later. But for you guys as kind of management and owners and the people kind of making the decisions on this, obviously your hands are tied a little bit on what's going to happen. But we talked a little bit before we got on here today, but some of the things that you guys did as a group of just moving forward and kind of, recreating and being creative as far as, okay, what can we do now? We're limited. We can't use ice. We can't use our facility. What can we do to still, keep engaged, keep involved with our customers, with our family, with, who we have as far as our players and parents and all that kind of stuff. What are some of the things that you guys have done just to kind of move forward with this whole, epidemic that's going on or pandemic, I should say, and kind of adjusting your business model and what you guys have done? Yeah,
well, just to touch on that, I think, like you said, everybody's kind of going through it, which is a nice part about it. It's like you're in a bad dream and you're going to wake up and everything's going to be back to normal the next day. But the longer it goes, you start to kind of wonder about how you're going to put the pieces together, right? So I think that's the challenge for any of our, small businesses, or like you said, people like us going through that. But from all these types of challenges, there's also really great opportunities, like you mentioned. So as you go through this process, you start to think of, you don't want to lose touch with anybody. So you want to find ways that you can still provide options to your clients, young and old, all the way through this. Plus, the other side for us is our team side. So we have an academy, our academy programs that run, as well as our junior teams. So we've got a junior A team and a WHL team that all kind of fall under our brand right now. So finding ways to engage and keep all those people engaged has been a real opportunity for us. So for our group, we looked at it from a few different things. The first thing was obviously the off ice. So I think the off ice is a natural fit. Everybody's at home. It is typically the off season or playoff time for people. So our group at Testify Performance, which is our gym, did a fantastic job at launching a train at home program. So basically, if you or I want to sign up for it, we basically get all our training at home. We get Zoom meetings with our coaches. We get a group meeting once a week. So it's basically like going to the gym, but having to be at home. They've even taken it as far as offering equipment and renting equipment to the clients that don't have it, because obviously it's just sitting in our gym. So, and they'll transport it. They'll take it right to your house and get you set up and make sure you're good. So that was the first thing that we came up with and launched. And then, the other areas that spawned into it, obviously with our teams, it's their off season now, but it's a big time for skill development. So how do you provide that? So we created a virtual academy, which our academy coaches are basically every day they have assignments for the teams. So whether it be a skill-based video that they have to show themselves performing it, to also taking game clips and challenging them to see different skills in game clips with a quiz at the end, and then bringing it all together in a tactical clip. So, each week has a theme, whether it be power play or penalty kill. And they've done a fantastic job at developing that, as well as keeping the community side for that. And then the last part is our development side, so player and goalies. We were struggling to find value. We didn't want to just put something out there that was the same as everyone else, I guess. We wanted to have something that was sustainable and something that when we were done and we all get through this, is it something that we can still provide, not just a one-time thing, right? So what we looked at, and a lot of this was customer feedback, just reaching out to clients, but the first thing for higher end players, junior guys, etc., with the season being done, we created a game video analysis portion. So options for them in 1, 3, and 5 game packages where we'll watch film, we'll break it down for them, focus on certain skill areas, and then present that to them. The second cool options we're doing is more of virtual, so we call it Rink home development, and these all fall under this, but we're doing one-on-one shooting lessons where players can record themselves, send it to us. And the last thing is virtual one-on-one. So basically what you and I are doing here just over Zoom, but now we're watching you and we're giving you feedback just like we would in an individual session. So those are the 3 options we've started with. There's obviously other ones that we want to work to develop on the development side, but that's where we've gotten ourselves to. So again, we've created a whole Rink home development option for families, which again, we wouldn't have done had we not had the time to do this. So another great, business opportunity for us, from a bad situation. So.
No, for sure. And I think it's something that obviously could hold weight when this is all done, right? If you have families that maybe, budget's a tough one, right? To spend the money on maybe getting ice or doing privates or doing small groups. Maybe there is an opportunity to do some virtual stuff at home or do some, working on skills at home at a more affordable price. But this is something that probably part of your business that you're going to carry on once we get back to work and once we get back to doing this, which, and it's impressive too, when you think about it, like you guys put this together in probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a whole new kind of side of your business that you're maybe forced to do, but it could have some legs to it, and it could be beneficial for families down the road, just as far as being, like I said earlier, a bit of a more affordable way of training. Yeah.
And then, I mean, for us, the nice part with us is we have our center, but we also expand we have satellite training. So we're all over the province. We basically cover from Winnipeg all the way up to, Thompson, Flin Flon. We've been to Nunavut, Poplar Hill in Ontario, Regina. So the nice part is we've had these kind of ideas banked, but not having the ability to really sit and focus on them each day just because of the demand for ice times. Now eliminating that, it's given us that opportunity to now where we can have these things in place. So we go to a remote location and we're done, at that place. We might not be back again, but how do we sustain that? And you and I both know development is about, seeing someone, every 2 weeks or a week. So how do you provide that at a satellite location? Well, I'd never used Zoom before. I'd never done any of this type of stuff before. Yeah. Now we're forced to do it to connect. And now all of a sudden it's like, that's a whole different avenue you could provide. Like you and I could be providing, feedback, whether it even be coach development. You could present to our coaches group on something that you guys do uniquely there. And we do the same thing. Like, I just think, it's very challenging and negative, obviously, for every business right now, but the opportunities and the branches that you can develop are huge. So,
I definitely, I agree. And even, even restaurants and different industries, I think some have done a really good job of being ahead of the curve a little bit and already having their virtual menu and, or even doing stuff like this, even doing some of them have developed a YouTube channel talking about how they prepare dishes, and their chefs are in there talking about how they're cooking and some good cooking ideas. And then, then you've got your delivery services, you've got your takeout. And so I think there's a lot of different industries that have definitely, gone about. Some, they're handcuffed a little bit. They're not able to do different things. But I think if you think long and hard enough about it, depending on what industry you're in, and think outside the box, there's ways to still get out to your community. Whether you're making money or not, that's irrelevant, because we're all kind of in the same boat where everyone's margins have gone way down. Everyone's taking a hit on this whole thing for sure. Yeah. But, just staying relevant, being part of the community, having, knowledgeable information. Because we talked about it a little bit, even what you were saying, like you guys could have just thrown a bunch of videos out within, an hour or 2 hours after being shut down, and they would have been just throwing throwing toilet paper against the wall. But you want to be relevant. You want stuff that's going to stick and that's going to have some longevity and that is thought out a little bit. And I agree with you. I think now we look at, social media and stuff, and don't get me wrong, man, I love tricks. I love overhandling the puck. I love messing around with stuff. But I think at the end of the day, there's a massive opportunity right now with how much time parents have and kids have to get better, to work on technique, to work on things that are going to translate. So when you do get back on the ice, your shot is better, just because you've been working on it the right way for a while,
Yeah, well, 100%. Like, I think a lot of people are, in some cases when these things happen, you look like you have to reinvent the wheel, when really some of these things have been under your nose the whole time. So like a virtual one-on-one, like, why not? Why would I not? Like, my little guy's 7. Like, why would I not? He doesn't have gym class anymore. If I could call and speak with you and get you on there, and I hold the camera, so now I'm hearing everything you're saying to him, the key points. So now when he's shooting in the garage, I can give him those same pointers. Like, that's a huge link, is the connection now that parents can be part of it. Because a lot of times they jump on the ice with you, they don't hear your interactions, they don't hear how you're talking to them. So that was one thing that our team identified, was just this almost increase of effectiveness now in a one-on-one session, is that a parent's holding the phone, well, they're hearing how you teach. Like, so again, I think if you're passionate about it, and you're passionate about the people you work with, and you communicate with them the opportunities that you want to try to provide them, they're going to give you that feedback. And then I think you can have endless opportunities. And the social media side of thing, like, I'm not in tune with it as much as some people are. So I know there's some things even that we've done, the Rink home stuff. Like, we're doing stuff from Hockey at Home, which is just, fun drills. And my little guy and I came up with a drill that, all of a sudden you put it out as a challenge, and people are now finding different ways to do it. So again, with the social media side, I think there's value, but it's like you and I said, it's the sustainability, but also I don't even know enough about it to think of probably some of the ways that our younger staff are using it right now. So
yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of, there's two camps, right? There's a lot of clickbaity stuff that looks really cool and that the kids are going to love, and even parents are going to love. But then there's a lot of stuff that you see out there that's like, okay, that makes total sense. I get, and there's progression to it, or there's good explanations as to why you would do this or why you'd practice that. And it's just like anything. It's like going to a billboard at a hockey rink and looking at all the different hockey camps that are coming out this summer. And how do you pick? If you don't know, how do you pick? You're gonna have to ask around. You're gonna have to look around. You're gonna have to do maybe a little bit of research and check out on the internet and see who's valid, who's not valid. And I think it's the same thing on social media. You can believe everything that you see, but unless you do a little bit of homework on it and kind of validate it, and I've done it. Like, I've looked at different things, and whether it's a product that I'm looking at buying, maybe it flipped up on social media, on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. Well, I usually don't just click on and buy it because I saw an ad that looks really cool and some guy was jacked and he had a whatever, I would go to the site, I would check it out, I would look at reviews, and then, okay, yeah, this does look pretty cool. And then maybe try it, So I think for parents and players and everybody, I think it's just doing that. It's just validating what you're seeing out there and seeing if it does make sense and if it's coming from a credible source, because anybody with a cell phone and a hockey stick could be out there pretending that they're a pro. And we all know that that's not probably the case in a lot of cases, right? So I think it's important.
There's a kid out of Muskoka that I can check on Instagram out your way. That's like, the stuff he can do is unbelievable. That, like, I know my son and I did this Hockey at Home one. We didn't do it in one one clip. And I know one of our coaches was working on even a challenge video this week, and one of our marketing leads there sent me about 66 clips of them trying to do it right. So it's 100%. I know but it is. People look at it, especially through Instagram. You're scrolling through it, and it's like, oh man, like. But you don't think the background, how much went into it, right? So,
well, it's funny because I think our boys are right around the same age. They're 7 years old, going to be 8, right? So I'll be going through stuff, and it's really hard. I'm sure you go through it too, because devices are a hot topic with any family, right? Like too much, too little, all day, no day, whatever, right? And for us, we try, I think when we were all young before we had kids, like, my kid's never going to watch TV and my kid's never going to be on a device. Well, yeah, guess what? It's unbelievable. Put your kid on a device for an hour, you get quiet time for an hour. It's unbelievple. So we try to live.
And then COVID-19 happens, right? And everything they have to do is on there.
Come on, right? So, but then anyways, on our house, try to limit to like an hour a day, and then look at a little bit, maybe like after snack time before bed, and that's it. Some days probably a little bit more, some days probably a little bit more. But anyways, I'll be on it checking something out for work, and obviously right away, like, well, Dad, you're on it. I'm like, dude, like, I'm doing, like, okay, this is like, anyways. So he comes over, starts watching, right? And some guy, does some crazy cool trick with a puck and a stick. And he looks at me, he's like, that guy's so good. I'm like, you know what? You know how he got so good at this though, Maddox? And he looked like, and he knows the answer now. He's like, because he practiced. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you can do this. You just got to practice. This young guy's practiced a lot, which I give him tons of credit. Like, it's awesome, Yeah. But to your point, there's probably 150 takes of some of these things that are so hard these guys are working on, But if anyone's 100%. Willing to spend the time doing it, this is going back to like, the gimmicky stuff to the applicable stuff that's going to apply to the ice. If you're going to spend, let's call it 10 hours of just flipping a puck, trying to catch it on the butt end of your stick, that's amazing. Imagine spending those 10 hours at shooting a puck properly or making a quick move that's going to be applicable to a game. Because I don't think you're going to be able to flip a puck, catch it on your butt end, in game 3 of a playoff series. Like, that's just not going to happen ever. But shooting a puck through traffic will. So, how do you spend that or diversify that time a little bit between having fun, messing around, doing that stuff, and then making, the actual applicable stuff fun and practicing enough to get that technique better and get better at it,
Yeah, and I think that's, and you and I have talked about this before, but that's the biggest challenge is, and we use the term all the time, where you'll get off the ice and the parent will come up to you and say, "Hey, I want him sweating. He wasn't sweating that session. Why was he not sweating?" Yeah. So, like, it's those reps of proper repetitions that might not generate as much sweat, but then it's the ways of hiding and keeping the tempo up in your practice. So whether it be, simple things where when you blow the whistle and you lift your hand, they got to be in there right away. Last guy in's going for a lap. Well, that can get a kid sweating. So if you really want him to sweat, you can incorporate those things. But if you really want him to get, the 10 hours of proper practice, he's really focused on it, he's probably going to sweat. If he's not really focused, he's probably not going to sweat. Yeah. So it's always that fine line there, but I completely agree. Like if anyone dedicates a certain period of time, like props to them to do some of those tricks that are online, because I can't do half of them. Yeah. But you're looking at the game of hockey, and just like we come back to the game video analysis we're going to offer to some of our older players, like if they have a specific thing that they want to get better at, now is the perfect time. Watch video with them. Like, if you can get their shifts, watch it with them, show them clips of why they missed on this one time or why they, missed here. And you're going to find consistency. So then when you hit the ice in June or July, now you got a plan set out of exactly what you need, right?
Totally. So, yeah. And I mean, as a professional, like a skilled coach like yourself who's taught for a lot of years, when you go on the ice now and let's say you're messing around at the start of a session, you got, maybe half a team out there, a couple forwards out there, and you guys are all just shooting around at the beginning and you're shooting or you're skating or whatever you're doing. Do you find in your head you're thinking a little bit about certain things? So if I'm going to go rip a puck, sometimes I'm thinking, okay, keep my top hand up. And it just naturally just comes in my head and think about it. So right now, if players do take the time of learning the technical stuff and repeating that stuff in their head as, right now, off the ice, shooting pucks or rollerblading or whatever they're doing, to me, the more they do that, the more they reinforce that positive stuff in their head and the right kind of technical pieces of things, I feel that when they do get back on the ice, they're going to have that little voice in their head a little bit, and, you know, and tell them like, hey, you got to correct this, or hey, you got to watch out for this, or hey, even if it's 1 or 2 points on, let's say, skating, you know, loading that leg, long stride, snap your toe, whatever that is, right? The more you can practice it now, I think the better off you're going to be when you do get back to the ice and you can practice it live in a practice and on skates rather than on rollerblades, you know. And I'm going to assume that you go through the same thing when you jump on the ice, where you're kind of talking to yourself a little bit, or there's that little voice in your head talking.
Oh yeah. Well, you think of the times that you know, we've been together at some of those seminars. There's so many takeaways from every different guy. You're taking away 5 or 10 different things that when you go back, like maybe at the time you hear it and you're like, that doesn't really process, but then all of a sudden you're in a changing the angle lesson and you're thinking about it, or you're thinking about you know, whatever was taught or what you saw, and all of a sudden it clicks. Then you start trying it out, right? And I think right now, with everybody being stuck at home, yeah, it's a challenge, but also it's a good time for you to actually focus on, like, you're forced to focus on specific things. So if it's shooting, you're not shooting and then skating and then getting distracted. Like, you're literally sitting there shooting pucks. It's boring.
Yeah.
But like, if you're thinking on every shot, okay, my top hand can't lock into my hip, or I got to push harder with my bottom hand, you do 10 of them. I mean, you're going to be further ahead than that person who was on ice anyways, right?
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Because you're so right, man. Like, in practice, we always talk to kids about, you know, focus on what you're doing here, focus on what you're doing there. And that's fine. Like, when you shoot to score, yeah, okay, great. They come down on that one rep, they try to shoot to score. Then they go in line, their buddy like hits him with an elbow, they slash him in the ankle, and then they're talking about something else. And then, you know, you're right. There's so many distractions where now you can actually, even if it's for 5 minutes, you can just focus on shooting those 10 pucks or 20 pucks or whatever you're doing, you know. It's a really good point for sure.
And even if it's stride work or anything, right? Like, you're doing stride work at home on the hardwood floor, like, you have to do 15 reps the right way, otherwise you can't do them, right? So
totally. Yeah, no, for sure. So, no, I think it's that's a really good point, man, for sure. Now, as far as you know, for you guys at the rink, are you guys, you know, you and your staff, are you guys keeping in touch? Are you guys kind of chatting once a week, twice a week, more than that? I'm assuming most of it obviously through Zoom, but are you guys, you know, kind of still having daily meetings and just kind of staying kind of on top of what each other's doing and things like that?
Yeah, it's actually, again, like, you're forced to do certain things, but you actually gain a lot from it. So every day we meet at 9:00, our development side, and we start off every meeting with a fun team builder, and that kind of gets us going for the day. And then Monday's usually a busy day where we kind of set the tone for things we want to get done for the week. And then we've got a task managing program that we didn't use before that now we're forced to use because we're all accountable to it. So, all those things, and touching base every day. And then any meetings, you used to be able to walk out of the office and have it right there. Now we do them all through Zoom. So, you get 3 or 4 calls throughout the day on tasks guys are working on, touch base on that and then our academies, they have a meeting at 10:00. So all the coaches meet and touch base on the virtual academy. And then, on Mondays, we log in with Testify for their train at home meeting. So they have a meeting at 10 or 11, and we present on the player side, just some of the drills we want guys doing. Yeah. And, but yeah, it's interesting because I feel like we almost gain more contact now. Like, we're talking all the time. Yeah. We're getting to know each other. Like, and we would meet weekly before, but never daily like this. And it's been, again, there's the negatives of being shut down, which is 100%. Like, it's not an easy time for anybody, but the positives there's so many on our end right now. So. Oh, that's good, man. Is it crazy when you actually think about it? Like, how long you haven't been on skates? Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing guys are struggling with. Yeah. Is that plus the camaraderie of being together. Yeah. So our office is basically set up like it's like you're coming in a dress room. Yeah. You walk in the morning, it's like, Blazer, what's up, man? Like it's awesome. Everybody's kind of on you. But so that's where the daily call has been huge for our group. Yeah. But being on the ice is probably the biggest struggle for guys right now, because we're 3 to 4 hours a day for the most part for each of us, right? So
yeah, that's
it's hard to find that.
Oh, for sure. Now, have you been out? I guess, what's the weather like right now where you are? Is it still snow on the ground, or is it melting pretty good?
Yeah, we had snow yesterday. It was minus 9 this morning. Last week it was warm, but for some reason this week it's gone cold. So, everybody's even more trapped inside. So it makes you feel like you're more of a telephone booth with the kids home and everybody. But yeah.
Now
There's actually somebody posted they were skating on a pond yesterday, so it was the first time, April 13th, that they were skating on a pond in their backyard. So it's
really
a little bit cold here. So yeah.
I saw a clip of somebody skating up in, I think it was Alaska, so obviously quite a bit colder than we have, but they're still skating on frozen ice, and a little bit warm, but which is awesome. I was like, oh man, that's great, because we're in London. It's weather's getting better, like it's getting warmer. We were a little bit minus this morning, like minus 2 or 3 with the wind chill. Wasn't bad at all, but but it's been like no snow, which has been good. So we've been out on rollerblades, like the kids and I, and doing some, so at least doing something, obviously, that is, because it is weird when you go that long without being on your skates. It's kind of, not that you forget it, but even if I go a week, sometimes if I'm away and I jump back on the ice, the first 20, 30 minutes, it feels weird. And then you get back into it, it's fine. But just trying to stay up to it and trying to stay relevant. And even I ended up bringing a bunch of stuff home from the rink on the weekend. I went and grabbed a bunch of the stuff, and I was like, I got to shoot a bit. I got to practice a bit, but I got to, stay on some of the stuff that we've been working on and teaching. And, it's crazy how when you don't talk about it day to day with people, that's why I love doing these podcasts with guys like yourself, and just getting a chance to get away from it a little bit and just talk hockey and chat about what you're up to, what's going on there. And cause you do miss it. And it's crazy how quick, not that you're out of it, but just how quick you don't feel like you're relevant as much as you were before,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, your routine is being able to basically teach every day, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Your kids aren't really going to listen to you. They might a little bit,
no,
but
not at all.
I know my little guy, I'll give him instruction, but then I got to kind of catch myself a bit with him. So, but I did try him out on the one-on-one shooting. I videotaped him and broke it down for me. It was interesting to see that side of it, right? Because now that you have kids in it, you can actually see how they are. So did it for him, filmed it, showed it to him. He sat there and watched the whole thing. He was so into it. So then that's where you start to, for you and I, it's an advantage right now is that we got kids in it. So we can see what they're interested in. He was so pumped to see it. So then it's okay, maybe more families would be interested in this type of offering, right? So you've got a testing ground.
Yeah, we got our own built-in guinea pigs that we can,
right?
Yeah, we can prong and poke and try them out for sure. It was funny. We were, my little guy started skateboarding, just with a little crappy skateboard, and so we'd go for walks. He'll take a skateboard and start skateboarding, but he wouldn't move his foot. He'd keep his foot going straight with the skateboard instead of turning it on an angle. So he'd have his foot like this and one foot there instead of turning it. I'm hey buddy, you gotta your front foot, you gotta turn it, And he would no, Dad, you don't. I'm like, okay. He's 7. Okay, yeah, So he's struggling. He's leaning over, falling off it. I'm like, you gotta turn your foot, man. So finally he ends up turning his foot, not telling me, he just kind of keeps skateboarding, tries it, and he's like, oh yeah, and then keeps going. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, how's that foot working for you now? He's like, better. But just would not admit, just already. And he's 7. I'm just like, how is this going to be when you're 14? And, so yeah, it's, but I like that because the kids love watching themselves on video. They love just, seeing themselves on pictures or cameras. If you're FaceTiming your parents, what are the kids doing? Are they talking on the phone? No, they're looking at the little picture in the corner at what their hair looks like and what their eye, you know what I mean? So they love that stuff. So to your, what you're doing, I love it. It's a good chance for you to test it out, see how it works. And then obviously get some engagement from your son where he's actually listening and looking, and it's not like that. Dad's just talking through a phone or a camera.
Exactly. Well, and then even my wife, when I sent it and I said, hey, I got Kingston's video. So then she's kind of drawn the teacher in her. Now she's watching it. Right. So that's, and it was a group of our staff that brought it up, but it was at first I didn't think of it, but then when you see it in action, you see, everybody's looking for ways to connect. So parents and kids, you hope that what we're able to provide them has that value where not only it's value for their development, but also value from a standpoint of family kind of coming together for that virtual one-on-one twice a week type thing or whatever, right? So,
well, even, when you were mentioning doing virtual one-on-ones through Zoom, right, and having the dad or the mom holding the iPad and videoing, and they're involved in the lesson a little bit because they're hearing it. But I mean, you can video record it, right? You can just record it on Zoom so that they get a copy of it. They can go back and revisit it. They can, the son can listen to it again and do that whole lesson again. So I think there's a lot of value, not just, to your point, not just the fact that, okay, I'm going to help your son or daughter for these 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but you guys can watch this again. Your son can watch it a couple of different times. You guys can redo this lesson 5-10 times if you want over the next couple of weeks. And then we'll meet again and do another one. You can video record that one. And so I think, and then also too, I think anytime there's a one-on-one going on, and this is something I didn't realize, so I started really doing them, years ago now, but there's also a bit of a confidence thing there. If you got little Johnny on the other side of a camera and you're just giving him feedback on his shot, nobody else, just him, what he's doing, how he's addressing the puck, hey, great job there. See how that shot was? That was awesome, man. Keep doing, it's a bit of a confidence boost for some of these young players, whether they're, young or a little bit older. And it doesn't even matter how good they are. Right. It's just, it gives them a chance to get a little bit of time just working on what they love and getting some feedback from someone that knows what they're talking about.
100%. And then even like coming back to the parents again, like the one dad, and I think this is common among most, is that he's like, I never even looked for those things. I always just looked at, why his eyes weren't up. Well, okay, his puck placement was way too far out of his feet. You try and keep your eyes up.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't. Yeah. Like, I can't look at the net, and he's loading the puck up away behind his body all the time. Like, so then as a parent now, and most dads coach their kids in some capacity, right? So
yeah,
I think you're creating that gap there. But again, this would have never happened if we weren't going through this. So it's a shitty time, like you said, but there's also the positives that you can find, right? So
yeah, no, definitely.
We're trying.
No, for sure. Quick, just on the skill side of things, and if you can recall this far back, but just talking a little bit, a question I ask a lot of the coaches are there any things that, as of when this whole thing stopped and you were still on the ice, are there any key skills that you noticed that you've really changed how you teach them, how you address them over the last couple of years? Because I know when I look back on how I teach, I've taught differently and I keep changing how I teach. And there's also different main key components that I really kind of focus on. So let's say you had a young player that you're working with right now. I know we're in a little bit of different times right now, but what are some key things that maybe weren't so key for you a couple years ago and that you'd really focus on with someone right now? Let's say someone that's 10, 11, 12, so maybe a little bit older than our boys are, but kind of getting into that elite kind of ages where they're going to start to turn that corner if they are going to,
Well, I'd say I think these kind of tie together, but just off the cuff, I mean, it's like you said, like every month or so, one of our coaches is finding a new way to teach something, and we encourage that. Like, I mean, that's the minute we get set in our ways and say this is the only way we can do things, is the day that, we're becoming stagnant, and is the day that we're going to start to struggle. So same as you, we're constantly finding ways, and it's been interesting because, like we have on the Testify side, like we have a director of sports science. So he's he's a doctor. He played the game and he works with the Canucks as well. And so for me, it's been great because for our group, we've been able to connect now on a scientific side. So there's theories we have on certain things that we give to him and he can kind of break them down. We can test them and see. So it's been really cool. And one of the things that him and I started looking at was obviously like the McDavid craze right now. So everybody's, why is he so fast? What does he do? What separates, fast players, him and McKinnon type thing. So one of the things we started looking into was just, if you watch McDavid when he's skating, yeah, he uses a ton of crossovers, but it's also his glide. So all too often we jump to, more advanced topics. So you're saying 10, 11, 12-year-olds, you won't see too many lessons where they're taking off and they're just working in a hockey stance to find their flats, because that's intro level, that's learn to skate, whatever. But if you can take less strides and have a better glide, naturally get yourself up to speed quicker and then glide, you're going to be able to read the game easier. You're going to be able to make plays easier. But if you're having to constantly move your feet, it's a struggle for you. So that was just thinking off the cuff. That's one of the biggest things we've been talking about, is just glide and having awareness of when you're on your flats, having awareness when you're on your inside, your outside edges, and what those do. But glide's been the biggest thing. And I think all too often players get away from it because they're 10, 11, 12. They're advanced from this. They don't need to do that. But can you literally maintain your speed balancing on one foot? Can you do it on two? Can you handle a puck when you do it? Can you have pressure on you and be able to maintain your speed? So that's been something we've really been working on, and probably something new that we've been trying to find ways to teach that. And then with that as well is open ice carrying. And I think, again, we're stuck at home, so everybody's stick handling a ton, but Patrick Kane's the best example. Everybody wants Kane hands. Everybody wants to have the quickest hands. Well, even if you watch him when he has open ice, he goes to one hand and gets into an open ice carry, forehand or backhand. And again, a simple skill, but something that we've got away from because we're so focused on other things is that open ice carry. And I know we're talking 10 to 12-year-olds, but that's something we do at every level. We talked about it with the ice this summer. Guys have open ice and their stick handling puck with two hands in their stick. Shift to one, take off, you're fast. So open ice pushes or open ice carries is another big thing that is probably something that's new, that's simple, but that we've started to focus on. So those are two things for me.
I like it. No. And I think, when we talk about evolving and changing and stuff, for parents and coaches out there that are listening to something like this, it's not about changing how we teach skating or changing how we do glide turns. Cause that's all stuff that's, to me, fundamental stuff that's was pretty similar 20 years ago to what it is now. For me, it's the more advanced skills, right? How do you come out of a glide with speed? And I love that. You're right, man. You look at a lot of coaches are yelling, move your feet all the time. And the game's spent more than half the game of players in a glide, more than half. So they are skating a lot, but they're not moving their feet the whole time. It's impossible. So learning how to play in a glide, learning how to come out of a glide with speed, learning how to use your edges out of a glide. I think all that stuff is huge. And you're right. The carry part is massive, because when you have that 10, 11, 12-year-old, you're watching them skate up the ice. Many times they get caught so easily because they're stick handling and they're not moving quick, and they're easy to play against. They're exposing the puck. So teaching them how to protect the puck with one hand and pushing it and going, I love that stuff. And those are, to me, they're more advanced skills, but man, if you can start introducing that at 7, 8, 9, then when they get to 13, 14, that's something that they just do. They don't even worry about it. It's just part of their game. The puck's in a protected spot, they can pick up speed out of a glide. So I think it is important. One thing we talked about a bunch, you and I, and just to bring it up, another thing we always talk about is deception, being deceptive. Yep. Well, that's a high-end skill, no doubt. But man, can you teach that to 7-year-olds? 100% you can. It's so awesome when a kid starts to get it at that age, because other little 7-year-olds are just biting on it, right? So he comes in, fakes one way, cuts the other way, or she makes a little move, cuts. That player's biting on it, they're gone, and I think it's something that can be implemented at young ages all day long. And
I know we talked a lot about that when we were together in Toronto there a while back, but it's I never did any of that stuff, deception. That was never anything that I ever worked on. But then, similar to anyone else in this industry, the more you start doing stuff, and then you go to your beer league game. I know it's different, but you're going to your beer league game or your skate with your staff, and all of a sudden you're looking past and you rip it top corner. You're like, man, the years that Dad was always like, keep your eyes on that spot you're shooting at, because that's where the puck's going to go. Well, yeah, but now you look back at it and you're like, all these little things, whether it be even just opening your blade. I always thought fakes had to be massive movements of the puck, but you can have the subtlety of just a flash your stick or a weight transfer. Sure. Those are the things that we talked about that before, but at a young age, I think those are massive. Our kids can easily look one way and shoot a puck, and they do it enough, like you said, they're going to start to do it in the game, right? So
definitely, yeah, I know for sure. And that's those are things going back, pulling it back into what we're going through now. Those to me are things that can be practiced now, just on a concrete floor or a little shooting board, and just fake and shooting, fake pass, shot, little things that they can start working on right now. And you don't need a lot of tools for it. Like I brought all this stuff home just because I want to start doing some off-ice videos for our community. And one of the things I'm going to show is like how crappy our shooting area is that we have at our house. Like it's just in our garage, moved all our craft to the sides. We have a tarp set up and a little net, and it's not much, but you can do tons of stuff off that. It's like, it's like the at-home workouts. Like you need a 10 by 10 space, not even, and you'll be fine. And put a chair in there, which everyone has a chair, and you could do a ton of stuff to work out. So there's not really any excuses when you really start to think about it. And the more you want to put in, the more the more you want to put in, the better you're going to get, right? And I think if you're doing it the right way, then you're going to increase that learning curve a ton for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I like we talked about before, just the use of the eyes. Like kids can be sitting there using their eyes to look and force them to find different things. Like that's a skill. I remember my grandpa telling me back in the day about like Gretzky and just like his vision, how everybody talked about his vision. And I didn't get to watch him a ton growing up, but watched him a little bit when I was young. But I mean, that was something he could do. He could see people behind him. Like you can't tell me that he didn't practice that in some capacity, right? So
definitely. I was talking to
huge skill is your eyes.
Oh, for sure. I was talking to a pro player the other day, and he's a real intense guy, and he obviously missing not being on the ice, and he wants to get back on the ice and all that stuff. So, but I said, take this time to work on like little things that you normally wouldn't work on. And that's one of the things I said, like shoulder check, man. If you're at the park going for a run, if there's a guy that runs by you or a bike that buzzes you, then you'd be pissed that guy would have crushed you or stole your puck. Like it sounds crazy. You're doing groceries and you see a grandma turn the aisle, you didn't see her. That's on you. You got to be able, you got to know, like, but start practicing that stuff now. Why not? Right. You got time. And, but there's other areas of the game, the mental side of the game, the peripheral vision part of the game. There's other parts of the game that you can just do at home, messing around, having your sister, brother throwing balls one way or behind you. You got to pick it up as quick as you can on where it went, and, there's a lot of different stuff that obviously people can do, but I think this is the time to take advantage of that so that you feel like you're doing something, obviously, number one, but number two, that hopefully it'll help you become a better player when we can all get back to getting on the ice and skating and playing again,
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it all comes back to that. Yeah. Okay. This is a really tough time. You could sit at home and just feel bad about it, or you could look at it as, man, this is an opportunity to get some things done that I haven't had time to. I haven't had time to think about practicing my vision or stuff like that. And, reaching out to your skills coach or your team coach and finding things that you can work at that are specific to you, and, start working at those things now until we're back and watch the difference it makes, right? Like everybody has things they can get better at. So I think it's an opportunity for people. So. Oh,
for sure, man. Definitely. Well, listen, buddy, I really appreciate it. I'm going to finish off with a couple just like little rapid fire. If you have anything that you want to ask or you want to fire out, go ahead. But so since you've been kind of at home, working from home, spending some time with your precious family and your beautiful wife, what's the most ridiculous thing that you've found yourself doing so far? Just like wasting time. So it could have been like cleaning out the nuts and bolts drawer that you have in your garage. Has there been anything like that you've just been like, wow, I would have never done this had I had not been self-isolating with my family right now?
I mean, the last 2 nights we put the kids to bed around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then washed every square inch of flooring in our house. So that was super fun.
Were you like on an excited level? Like, so 10 being ecstatic, like going to watch like Winnipeg play in a best of 7 series, game 7-0, being like, let's burn the house down. Where were you on that scale?
I was probably at a 0.5 or a 1 because for me, I'm thinking in my head, like, can't you pay people to do this for you? But
yeah,
at the end of the day, now the kids are wearing socks around the house. So
there you go.
That's the biggest thing. So no more footprints on the floor. So
perfect.
But that's probably one of the things that I've done that I feel has kind of been, I mean, it was due, but again, you got time to do it. So
yeah, no, but that's one of those projects too, where you like, I think most of the projects that we've done, you do it and you're like, okay, that sucked. I did not want to do 1 minute of that, but man, this actually really looks way better. I'm glad I did it. And,
yeah. Well, and again, you're hanging out with your spouse, so you'd rather be maybe sitting on the couch or playing a card game or something. But yes, in that essence, you end up, it's like those types of jobs where you end up, you're like jobs I used to do as a kid, where all of a sudden you end up talking to people, painting and stuff like that,
Sure, yeah,
where
yeah,
you actually take the time to talk because you're actually
yeah, forced
engaged.
to.
So that was
Yeah.
good from it. But how about you? What did you
The
find
one that
yourself
pops
doing?
for me is I have obviously like most of us have a dresser that just caught all my junk every time I'd come home from being away or whatever, just like receipts and whatever. And for the first time we've been in this house for 7 years, so I'm going to say 7 years. For the first time, you can actually see the wood on the top of the dresser. So I spent like not long, but it took me about an hour and a half to go through everything, throw out the receipts I didn't need anymore. But it was one of those things where that dresser would look the identical. It would look the same. Have we not been? I just needed an hour on my own. I went upstairs, did my thing, and yeah. So that's one that pops off for me for sure. Now, what's the best craft that you've helped your kids make so far? Have you done any like daddy kid craft time? Has there been any kind of?
I don't think I have done a craft with them.
Okay, well that's the next thing.
I did some coloring. So we did help with coloring, and that I do understand why that's on the rise as a therapeutic thing that people are doing again, because it shuts down your mind. We did a puzzle too, but
nice. Those are good too.
Wifey did all the Easter crafts. I can't take credit for any of that.
Now, have you found yourself, whether drawing or doing a puzzle, you kind of look up and everyone's gone and you're there by yourself still doing the puzzle or still doing the drawing because you're right into it and everyone else is kind of tapped out and gone into something else? Yeah.
And then getting mad to call them back, and then trying to then being a coach and try to teach them how to color.
Yeah,
you want to do or my daughter. Yeah, you want to do an outside frame first, and then you can just do one.
Yeah, they love that. So, they really love when you interrupt in their time, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's great. Well, hey, listen, where can people find the Rink then? If anyone's looking at it, website or any kind of social media stuff that you want to share, people can go creep out your facility. Yeah,
it's the rink.ca is our website. Social media wise, we've got a few different handles. So let me just
and have you guys been? I'm assuming you guys have been posting some stuff through all this time. Obviously, you and your coaches and stuff. And do you guys kind of share the same social media that it all kind of comes out on?
Yeah, no, we share all of that. So it's the Rink. The Rink one's its own. So let me just look it up. It's actually not the Rink. It's Rink Training Center is our handle on Instagram, and then we've got Rink Goalie Development, Rink Player Development, and then our Rink Hockey Academy. So on all those fronts, there's different things we've been putting out. Like on the Academy site, we've been highlighting a lot of our players at home and what they're doing and different challenges with them. On the Training Center one, that's more our kind of general stuff, like general posts, and then obviously player and goalie are, putting out some of the development options, and some just at home drills. Like, we've been trying to do lots of hockey at home stuff.
Yeah.
Again, with a progression to it as much as we can. So, but yeah, that's all of our social media, and then it's the Rink is our website, and that'll take you to all different avenues, and I've got our virtual offerings up there now too. So
that's awesome, man. Listen, buddy, I appreciate you taking the time. This is obviously great to have you on, and hopefully the next time we meet up, we can do this again in person, whether I'm out in Winnipeg or we meet up again somewhere else to do something together skill set wise. Be awesome. But hope all the best to you and your family, and we'll be in touch for sure, buddy.
Yeah, same to you. And if we podcast is on our Monday.com list of things to do right now, so if we get a podcast going, then
there you go.
We'll have to repay the favor and have you on it. So.
Well, yeah, you let me know. And if you need any advice or any help, because I've screwed this up a number of times, I could probably help you troubleshoot a bit.
Sounds good, Blazer.
All right, buddy. Okay, stay on the line.
I should say Paul Stoichwitz says hi.
Oh, yeah.
You guys knew each other.
Yes, he's on your crew, right?
Yeah, he's been a big asset for us.
Great guy. Coached at Western, played at Western, did his grad assistantship there, and then we tried to pluck him, and he went back home.
Came back home, so we got him. But yeah, no, he's been great. We put together, one of the first things we did was put together lists of key contacts that we wanted to reach out to, and so we had you on there, and I was in my office. I'm like, like, how do you know Blazer?
Yeah, no, he's a good
guy,
dude.
though.
No, it's great. Small world though. And I mean, he's
Oh yeah,
it's nice to land because, man, when you get out of playing and you're done, kind of like you did and I did, and then you get into what we're doing now. It's so nice to have 2, 3, 4, 5 guys and girls that are hockey people. You go and you watch Sports Center in the morning. You know, you watch highlights. You get a chance to bounce things off each other, and everyone's got their own opinion. Most times, which is awesome. But you're all kind of going the same way, which is kind of refreshing. It's just like being in a locker room, right? You got different personalities, but everyone loves the game and loves being around it, and it's cool, man. You guys sounds like you put together a pretty solid crew there for sure.
Yeah, we're lucky. We've got a great facility and a great group of coaches, so it's pretty unique and exciting group we have. So,
oh, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, stay safe. Wash your hands, and we will.
Okay, will do.
See you soon.
You too out in London.
Yeah, exactly. All right, buddy.
Okay. Thanks, Blazer.
Bye.
Okay, man. Bye.
To kind of raise that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps,
Huge strides in the performance.
that I might not be the player I am today.